All right, it's time for another beer, rum, and roll rock shot. This time, Reed and I are celebrating the 50th anniversary of Deep Purple's sixth studio album, Machine Head. Released on March 25th, 1972 on Warner Brothers Records, it became Deep Purple's most commercially successful album, topping the charts in several countries, including number one in the UK. It was produced by the band and engineered and mixed by Martin Birch. The Mark II lineup consisted of John Lord, keyboards, Richie Blackmore, guitars, Roger Glover, bass, Ian Gillan, vocals, and Ian Paice on drums. All right, Reed, welcome back, man. Are you excited to talk about Machine Head or what?
I couldn't be more excited. Like, honestly, as far as, hard rock albums go, for me, it's tough to find one that is front to back. It's fun to listen to in so many ways as Machine Head is. It's an important record, I think.
Okay, let me just start by just asking you what you recollect in terms of when you first heard this album and the impact it had on you as a music lover and then eventually as a player. Like, did it rock your world? I'm assuming it did.
It really did. I was the oldest child in my family, and I was mostly listening to K-Tel records, and which I don't regret. Let me say that I do not regret my K-Tel record collection, but I was mostly listening to that kind of stuff, pop music, AM radio. Definitely, that was really the only way I would hear music was riding around the back of my mom's car.
Right.
But I did have an older cousin, and I think he was a music fan, but not a deep music fan. He bought albums, but I think he mostly bought albums like because he'd heard a song on the radio or one of his friends turned him on to some. So I think he actually had bought Machine Head, probably for Smoke on the Water, I'm assuming.
Yeah, probably, eh?
And he didn't really dig it. And one day I was over there. I spent a lot of time with my cousin's family, with his younger brother. And I might have been listening to it or something, like at their house. And he
Right.
said, "Oh, you can just have it."
Oh, yeah.
And I was like,
Okay.
"Cool." So I took it home and that's when I started listening to it in earnest. And I put it on my
Right.
mom's console stereo in the living room.
Did you have one of those big ones, like a piece of
Yeah,
furniture that, yeah, oh, yeah. We had that too. Yeah,
the thing
totally.
was massive.
Yeah.
I used to sit right in front of it and just listen. And I just grew so attached to that record. And I learned to love every song, every note that was played on it.
Totally, man. I have a similar story, man. Those older cousins. We had older cousins in Edmonton. We were living in Calgary, and they were the cool cousins. One in particular was really into the rock thing, right? So we just thought he was the shit, right? He had the van, and we go visit. My brother and I would go into his room, and I remember three albums he got us into, or me especially. Ted Nugent, Free for All was big. Alice Cooper, Welcome to My Nightmare, and this one. This is my original vinyl, dude. Like, it's thrashed. Later on, I took better care of my shit, but yeah. I mean, come on.
I'm pretty sure I still have the original vinyl my cousin gave me too, actually. And same thing, it is thrashed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like you said, oh my God, I listened to it. I still listen to it. Not as much as I did back then, but it's part of my rock and roll DNA, man. Every note of this thing, I know. Like, it's just incredible. It just blew my mind. And even at that age, I remember thinking, at least I think I do. Hindsight's 2020, but I remember thinking, musicianship wise, it's next level, but the songs are there. Like, they might have been showing off a little bit, but the songs are there. It's not just some dudes, look what I can do. These are great songs.
It has all of it. It has the songs, it has the sound. It sounds amazing. It was breaking ground sonically, with the playing was breaking ground. I feel like Deep Purple is as important almost as a Zeppelin or a Sabbath.
I agree. 100%. They're like Zeppelin with the organ. I agree. Totally. Hugely into them. Just as into them as Zeppelin for sure. Okay, man, let's talk about the music then. Let's dive into this thing. 7 tracks, clocking in at just under 38 minutes. So that's short and sweet compared to today's albums, right? But hey, it's all killer, no filler, as I like to say. So you got all tracks written by Ritchie Blackmore, Ian Gillan, Roger Glover, John Lord, Ian Paice. That's rare. Like they're all credited on all 7 tracks, it's a rare thing, man. Van Halen did that for a while.
And I think it's probably largely true in this case, because this album was recorded virtually live off the floor. And a lot of these arrangements seem like they were just, well, what do we do here? Well, why don't we, go back to this part? Why don't we you
Yeah,
take a solo? Why don't we, they don't seem that purposefully structured, but that's not a diss.
right.
They go places without being too planned. It's like having a dad who takes you on vacation is willing to stop at the Flintstone Park and you know what I mean? He's not in a hurry to get to where you're going.
That one in Kelowna? Is that what you're thinking of?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's well put. Exactly. Yeah.
We never stopped at that fucker, by the way.
Oh man, I grew up in the Okanagan, so yeah.
Oh, you did?
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Okay, man. Number 1, Highway Star. I mean, coming out of the gate hard. Before you tell me what you think of this song, you know me, I like the fun facts. I got 2 of them.
Okay.
So apparently, this journalist asks Ritchie Blackmore how he writes songs, and he said, just like this, picks up the guitar and plays that riff, like right then and there. Like what? Like the song hadn't been thought of till that moment. Apparently, that's the rumor. Like, are you kidding me? Like,
Well, here's the thing, though, is that I think some of the beauty of this album is each individual riff is not unto itself a whole lot of love or a groundbreaking riff. It's what they did with it. Do
right.
you follow me?
I
Like
do.
it's,
Yes.
dan, 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 dan. Okay, it's pretty cool. But
Right.
what's cooler about it is where they take it, where they go with it, what each person brings to it. They're truly the sum of all their parts on this
Yeah.
album, especially.
Yes.
And Highway Star, it seems to me like the perfect example of having planned elements written and then at the same time being able to just go, and in this part, I'm just going to go fucking crazy and whatever comes out, comes out. Do
Follow
you know what I
me.
mean?
Yeah. I totally
Yeah.
do. Yeah.
Like,
Totally.
clearly there are written elements. The guitar solo is, it's all harmonized. I mean, at some point he had to plan some of that out, right?
Sure.
But then there's also stuff that's just, there's no way that was planned,
Yeah. Right.
you know? And
Yeah.
just the craziness of it. I can remember putting that on as a kid and hearing the screams at the beginning and just going,
Oh,
whoa, man, like this is, if you're going from K-Tel to Highway Star and hearing those screams,
yeah.
it's a big step.
Totally. Oh, Ian Gillan is just amazing on this track, man. The other fun fact is him. I guess he just improv the lyrics, which you can kind of tell. And then the rest of the band completes the arrangement like you're just talking about. They add it to the show on the evening of the gig, like that day. Like, I mean, they're just flowing. This stuff is just flowing out of these guys at that point, man. It's crazy.
I mean, they had enough confidence in their ability to do stuff like that and to go, sure, why the fuck not? We can do it. They had every right to have that confidence. They were unbelievable.
Were they ever, dude? Let's talk about that guitar solo, Reed. I mean, it's his best, I would say, and one of the best of all time.
Richie Blackmore is one of my favorites, and specifically what I said about the song, I will say about the solo, and that is that I love it. I love it
Yep.
because it's got elements of what could I do here that would be really cool, and writing things and writing elements of a solo that are just magical. The harmonies, which I love guitar harmonies, and they're kind of off the wall harmonies too. They're not just, they're not super straight up. But then that added wildness, that
Yeah.
danger. We've talked about that before. The
Yeah.
danger. There's no more dangerous guitar player than Richie Blackmore.
And you get that hint. I mean, when I was a kid, I'm not putting this together, but that classical Bach kind of influence is in there, you
Yeah,
know.
totally. And that Blackmore is known for that, and I love that about him. But I also love that on this album in particular, he's a blues man.
That's
You know what
right.
I
Down
mean?
deep. Yep.
He really is. Like his phrasing, his vibrato, is everything. His note choice is it's dirty and it's
Yeah.
mean and it's dangerous.
Especially live. Yeah. Now we have to mention, and I mean, this is going to apply to every song, so we'll go on Highway Star, and maybe you'll get the idea. But John Lord, equally as badass, having his own solo and going back and forth with Richie. It's just amazing.
This is it. And Kablamo, well, I guess keyboard solo comes first, and it starts with that noise, crazy. It's like, oh my God, again, if all you've heard is a bunch of K-Tel records, tie a yellow ribbon around that old oak tree.
Little Tony Orlando, yeah, right.
And when you hear, the rumbling organ just going,
Yeah,
it sounds like it's going to blow the fuck up. And it's just, and then he rips into that solo that is kind of exotic sounding. I mean, he's making a statement. And then he rips into those super fast descending figures and it's mind blowing. But then,
what
oh,
happens?
well, that's not enough. Now, how about a guitar solo that's going to be equally as dangerous and as a tag team? Has there ever been two better soloists in a band?
We mentioned Ian singing his ass off, unbelievable. And he's writing some pretty cool lyrics. I mean, some of them might seem juvenile in hindsight, but I think they fit the song. Like, she's a killing machine. She's got everything, moving mouth, body control.
As a
I mean,
kid, I
come on.
liked it. I
Oh,
really liked
totally.
it.
Yeah.
And it was, yeah, and it was a little bit like, you kind of got the gist. Oh, he's talking about a girl. Ooh, body control. Like, is my mom around here? You know what I mean? Like,
What does he mean by I seed it?
I seen it. Yeah.
Right? And who hasn't done that chick car metaphor? I mean, Zeppelin did it. They all do it at some point.
Yeah. And that's what we listen to rock and roll for is that, it's juvenile, but we were juveniles.
Right? And you got to
Yeah.
tap into that juvenile today. At least I do on a
Yeah.
regular basis.
Yeah.
Like I had
Hey,
a
careful
I had
what you say there. Don't be tapping into any juveniles.
Oh man, that sounded horrible.
You got to tap into that
Oh.
juvenile every once in a while.
Keeps you young, Reed.
Yeah.
I had a muscle car for years and years and years. I don't have it anymore, but for a long time I had a Mustang and a Camaro, blah blah blah. But this is always the first song I would crank in it when I took it out in the spring, man. I'd
Yeah, of
fire up
course.
Highway Star and I'd fucking go. Just
Of
works
course you would.
perfectly. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's fucking badass. Okay, let's move on to track number 2. Maybe I'm a Leo. Here's your fun fact here. The title and the lyrics refer to Ian Gillan's birth sign. And Roger Glover wrote the song's main riff after listening to John Lennon's How Do You Sleep off Imagine. And if you know that song, it does kind of have a little hint of that in it. What do you think of this one?
It's funny because in hindsight, it's one of my favorite tracks on the album. Like, it's easy to get wrapped up in the, Smoke on the Water, everybody knows, but Highway Star, it's a must listen. But once you sort of get past that and starting listening to some of the deeper tracks, the Never Befores, the Pictures of Home, Maybe I'm a Leo, then you realize, oh, fuck, this shit is cool. At this point, I may enjoy it more.
Yep. I agree, 100%. Yeah. And coming off Highway Star, this has got more of a swinging groove to it, right? Like it's a different feel altogether, which is awesome.
This is the thing is that Deep Purple, they did also have there's some funk in that band.
Yep.
There's some groove in that band, and they were obviously listening to some R&B and you can hear that. It is funky and it's dirty and it's badass.
It is. And we're going to say this
Yeah.
on every song, but Richie's solo is fucking killer on this one too, obviously.
He doesn't play a bad solo on this album. He really doesn't. He doesn't really play a bad solo ever, but I mean, this to me is Richie at the peak of his powers. Most of it's pretty blues based, but he's just got that phrasing that just gets me every time, and he just is putting enough of those written parts to let you know that hey, there's more to me than what you might immediately think.
Totally. And let's choose this song to talk about Ian Paice and how fucking wicked he is. Like his
Oh
drum
man.
fills on this song are sick. He doesn't overdo it. He never overdoes it. They fit the song perfect and they just slay.
Here's the thing about that I think about Ian is that sometimes he is verging on doing it, overdoing it, but he does it so fucking well
Yeah.
that you would never feel that way. Like
Yes.
it just fits, and
It really
you
does.
never lose. It never takes you out of the moment. Like you're just right there, and he's like pulling you along. Like, come on, let's get to this part. Come on, wait till you hear this.
Maybe I'm a little, but I ain't alive. I'm hurt, oh so bad. I want her now.
Let's keep talking about Ian Paice because number 3 is Pictures of Home. And my fun fact here is it's a description of sights and images of Montreux where they recorded it, right? And it's the only song on Machine Head that was never performed live on the tour. All the rest of them were at some point. Back to Ian. This drum intro is fucking sick. Like it is just wicked. Like God. What a way to start a track.
To me, in my world, he's the second most important rock drummer after John Bonham. Everybody wants to put Neil Peart first, but to me, Ian Paice, because it wasn't ever all about him, but everything he did pushed these songs along, and
Yes.
yeah.
You know what's cool, Reed? I don't know if you've heard this. Roger Glover, who kind of he's the catalog guy and he remixes a lot of their stuff. I think in '97 they re-released this, and he gave Richie a couple different solo takes. And there's the drum intro to this is even longer on it,
Yeah.
which it originally was. Have you heard that? It's just wicked, man.
I have heard it.
Yeah.
Honestly, that was a hard thing for me to listen to. I could only listen to it out of interest. Like, I can't really hear these songs with any other solos.
I do like when you can hear, before the tape rolls, you can hear chatter and okay,
Yeah, I like all
love
that stuff too. But
Yeah.
as far as like, if I'm going to listen to Highway
Yeah.
Star, I don't
Yeah.
want to hear the fucking alternate solo.
You make a good point. Yeah, totally.
Do you know what I mean? Do you want to hear an alternate solo to Ain't Talking About Love? Do you know what I mean? That's part of the song.
You're right. It's just out of curiosity, though. It's cool.
Yeah, and it is totally cool for the hardcore
Yeah.
fan to hear something that was recorded at the same time. It's cool
You're
to
a
a point,
purist.
but
Yeah.
yeah.
Hey, have you seen? It's a YouTube clip. It's some sort of drum clinic, drum off thing. I know Chad Smith's there, but Ian Paice is on stage. He's got a snare drum and a drumstick, and he's doing a drum roll with one hand. It's just, you got to see it. It's hard to describe. He's doing this thing where he hits the skin and the edge of the drum, and he's just going 1,000 miles an hour with one hand. Like it's bizarre. It's just
I haven't
incredible.
seen that.
Yeah,
I haven't
I'll
seen
post
that.
a link. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Although, generally speaking, anytime there's only drums, that's not something I want to watch.
Right. It wasn't a long solo.
Yeah.
It'll be okay. It'll be okay. Again, yeah, the riff's killer, solo's killer. Oh, you know what I like
The
about
bass
this one?
solo.
I was gonna say,
How about the
I
bass
love this
solo?
Roger Glover little bass action.
Yeah.
Really cool.
And it's a very cool solo, like well phrased and great note choice. And again, it's initially it takes you like you're going, what the fuck? What's going on here? A bass solo? You know, he does that climb, do 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 do. But at the end of it, when it comes out, do 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 do, and it
Oh, and then
descends
back
back
in.
out into the riff.
Yeah,
That is magic.
it is. Oh my God. And
Yeah.
I love when you get that snare thing from Ian where it
Oh
stops.
yeah, yeah,
It
yeah.
stops. And it
Yeah,
fucking
yeah,
goes into another solo
yeah.
from Richie. I mean, dude, the dynamics are
Again,
just incredible.
dynamics and drama. You know, they really knew how to put some drama into the grooves of the vinyl.
Yes, they really did.
I'm alone here with emptiness, eagles and snow. Unfriendliness chilling my body and taunting with pictures of home.
Okay, let's move to 4. Never Before. This is end of side 1 for you vinyl people out there. My fun fact on this one is it was considered by the band to be the most commercial track off the album and was released as the first single. Goes to show the band doesn't always know what the fans are going to gravitate to because it did okay, but nothing like Smoke, of course, which we'll get to. But what do you think of Never Before, Reed?
This is another song that I just think is so cool and stands the test of time really well. The riff is kind of stock, but kind of not. You know, do 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 do. You know that whole descending thing, like
You're dying
off
to
in the
grab your
back.
guitar, aren't you? You're dying to grab your
Yeah,
guitar right now.
yeah. It is so great, you know. And then,
Yeah.
but then it goes into a completely not stock sort of chorus, I guess you'd call it. More cool riffs, and then back to the main riff. I mean, these guys, they knew how to put a rock song together.
And even when they're doing a quote unquote a simpler song, it's still not simple, you know?
Oh, and Richie fucking blasts a solo that you're just like, oh shit.
Totally right. That breakdown's interesting. You know what? I was hurt
Yeah.
when I was hurt when I was younger by a woman who was cold. She took my name, she took my body, and then she threw away my
Threw away
soul.
my soul. Yeah, that
Right?
great. You know, can I have some of whatever you're smoking? Anyway, a really weird key change too in that part. It's a really odd change, but again, they somehow make it seamless and they make it work. And it's always just like Richie just knows which note to hit right off the top of the solo. So it just comes in and you're like, whoa, yeah,
Yeah.
money.
Blows your fucking hair back even if you don't have any, like me.
I was hurt when I was young.
Okay, we have to do it. Number 5, Smoke on the Water. Fun fact, well, we know the story here. So like you said, they thought, you know what? We sound way better live than in a studio setting. So they rent this theater in Montreux.
It was actually a casino. It was the Montreux
Casino,
Casino.
that's right. Yes.
Yeah, and so Zappa was playing I think it was like a matinee show during the day,
That's right. Yeah.
and it was a firework that somebody shot off into the ceiling.
Back when you could take fireworks to a show, yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Like, you know,
yeah,
let's go on
right,
a tangent. Aerosmith live bootleg. You can hear the M80s going off in that album, hey?
right. I
Like,
mean, people
what?
used to have to go out on the microphone and say, "Hey, don't shoot us with fireworks." Seems obvious. But I'm
Yeah.
just here to say, please
Don't do that.
don't aim your fireworks at us. Apparently, it was like smoldering in the ceiling, so it took a while before it.
Oh yeah. Burned
But
right to the. It was an inferno, dude. Like
it
there's
burned.
footage of
It
it to the
burned itself
ground.
to the ground. Yeah.
Then they ended up at the Grand Hotel. I mean, this is the lyrics. This is the whole story, right? Let's talk about that riff, Reed. You know, sure, it's overplayed and people make fun of it and stuff, but I love it, and I'll tell you why. I love the way it builds. Like it's Richie and then John and then Ian, and they all kind of come in one at a time, and it just creates this such a cool sound, man. I get tired of it a little bit, but when it comes on my fucking iPod on random, I don't skip it. I love the guitar solo. I just fucking
The
love it.
guitar solo is worth the price of admission. The songs is great. It is great. And the way they use a very simple motif, and a simple riff, but are able to build the interest, just like you said, as it progresses by having each member come in and add something to it. So by the time you get to the verses, you're just like, woo, and a very simple structured song. Like the verses are really simple. Like there's not much going on. It's all carried by Ian Gillan and the good old '70s and the story songs, right? Like story songs we don't hear story songs anymore, but back then in the '70s there were lots of story songs, like tie a yellow ribbon around the old oak tree.
Well, yeah, that and American Pie, I guess, would be one.
Yeah, Billy,
Yeah,
don't be a hero.
that's right. Now I'm
It,
thinking
and
of
it,
Billy Joe McAllister jump off the Tallahatchie
Tallahatchie
Bridge.
Bridge, yeah, or Ode to Billy Joe,
Oh, it's a
right?
Billy Joe. Yeah, right.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, back to Smoke. So this is the band didn't think this was going to be anything commercially. Well, they were wrong because this thing is like iconic, man. What's my little fact here? It reached number 4 on the Billboard Hot 100 in the U.S. So there you go. And that riff is like Stairway. Well, you work at a guitar store. Don't play Smoke or Stairway.
Sadly, now we're at the point I wish more people would play either Smoke on the Water or
Yeah, right.
Stairway to Heaven instead of fucking Enter Sandman.
So stupid with a flare gun, burn the place to the ground. Smoke on the water, a fire in the sky. Get on it. Smoke on the water now.
Number 6, God, on any given day, it might be my favorite track on the album. Lazy. You just stay in bed. You don't want no money. You don't want no bread. The fun fact on this one is, and Sam Colson brought it to our attention, if I'm not mistaken, Richie was inspired by Clapton stepping out.
Yeah, I've heard that as well. Yeah.
I had never heard that until Sam said it. And then I saw it on Wiki. I'm like, oh, there it is, man. And the other little thing, speaking of Blackmore, is he recorded that solo in sections and then they edited it together. It's not one performance or whatever, which fine. Doesn't bother me. It's still fucking incredible.
It is some of the finest guitar playing in the history of guitar playing. Yeah. I mean, that song is such a journey. I can remember, sitting as this kid listening to this thing, hear the whole organ intro, it just takes you on this complete journey. Starts all mellow and then it gets super ominous and heavy. You know what I mean? It's like, it's kind of scary. Then it just goes down to that drone. Fucking, I mean,
Yeah.
it's so perfect. And then when Richie comes in with that riff for the first time, it's so perfect.
I just love it so much. Ian Gillan doesn't come in with any vocals till the 420 mark.
I know.
It doesn't need vocals, really.
You're not really missing it. They wait long enough that when the vocal comes in, it's kind of a surprise.
It's kind of cool to hear him play harp, I guess, but yeah. I love it, man. And back to other editions. I'll mention this right now. I was going to wait to the end, but I'm going to mention it right now. So the 40th anniversary, we're celebrating the 50th. So this was released 10 years ago, Reed. It's a box set. So it's got a whole bunch of shit. It's got all that Roger Glover 97 mixes, blah, blah, blah. But what it has that I just fucking love, it's got a quad 4.1 DTS mix.
Oh, wow.
So it's not quite 5.1, but it's still pretty cool. Of the whole album. But there's, and I don't know why they only did 3 tracks. I don't know. But there's 5.1 DTS mixes of When a Blind Man Cries, which we'll get to. Maybe I'm a Leo and Lazy. It sounds unbelievable. If you got a system like I have, it's like you're in the room while they're recording it. That's what it sounds like. It's just amazing, dude. Lazy is fucking incredible.
It is a tour de force for sure. And every member holds up their end of the bargain in that tune for sure. I mean, aside from the solos that they each take, they're also playing very supportive roles to each other.
Yes.
When it's their moment, they're going out there and swaggering out there, swinging their dicks around. But
yeah,
they also, throughout a lot of the song, just know when to play a supporting role and how to be dynamic, how to take up only enough space so that everybody's heard and everybody's important.
Yeah.
That's a hallmark of a great band.
I was just going to say, they sound like a band, not a group of virtuosos who got together and let's do this. It's a band, dude. Absolutely.
It's fully a band. It's more a band than most bands will ever be.
Okay, dude, let's move on to number 7, Space Truckin'. My fun facts on this one. Space Truckin' was written as a tribute to 1950s rock and roll lyrics with a science fiction theme. So, it can be a bit cheesy in spots. Music in our solar system, rocking around the Milky Way, this kind of stuff. But it's the music that really sells it. The riff is, I guess, based on the Batman TV theme. Anyway, it's a rocker. What do you think of this one?
This one is another one that for me, I may have overkilled it as a kid because I listened to this song a lot. I could figure this one out.
Yeah, right.
Dun, dun,
and dun, dun, dun.
And it's a fantastic song. I mean, yes, the lyrics are a little bit cheesy or out there, but again, what a performance. Like when he reaches that part when he just starts fucking wailing, like that takes balls to just do that. Like to just be in the studio and go, hey, you know what I think I'm going to do in this part? Cover your ears.
You know what? He does not get the credit he does from guys like us. But your average person, it's Robert Plant and all these guys. Ian Gillan, is, in terms of that kind of power, buries those guys.
Honestly, I think it's because it does make some people uncomfortable. Like it just goes so far that it's just like, you know what I mean? Like
right, like Child in Time, that kind of
Child in Time,
yeah.
or yes, that one part of Space Truckin', or he's just like it's like, whoa, what the fuck is going on here? But it's dangerous, and he's pushing the limits. And
get Ian's balls out of the vice, somebody.
And
yeah.
I think it's fucking amazing. But I remember listening to like Child in Time, for example, and just going,
yeah.
Oh man, I don't know if I can get behind this. And then eventually I just grew to love it.
Oh, I love it too, man. And let's go back to Ian Paice again. He does another snare roll that's just stellar. When it drops down and then, builds back up.
Yeah.
Dig it. And then it sounds like, it's just, I had never heard that before. Like that, ever.
Yeah.
Just badass. Full of badassery, I like to say. One more thing on Space Truckin' is live. This turns into like a 20-minuter. Well, they jam the shit out of it, right? Not everybody's into that, but yeah, it's pretty cool what they can do live with this stuff. Like on Made in Japan, I think it's like 20 minutes long. Let's just mention the B-side that wasn't technically on the album. It was a B-side to Never Before, When a Blind Man Cries. What do you think of that one?
When a Blind Man Cries, I actually really like. However, it was the right choice. If they had to leave a song off, it was the right choice. Yeah, it doesn't hit as hard and as deep as the rest of the album does.
Well put, yeah. You know what's interesting is, have you ever heard that tribute album Remachined?
No.
So it's a bunch of A-list talent. Some of those tribute albums are lower level guys, but these are A-list dudes doing a song off this album. Metallica does a version of this, believe it or not. When a Blind Man Cries. Yeah, they didn't pick a rocker, yeah. You got Iron Maiden doing Space Truckin'. You know what's really cool? Bonamassa and Brad Whitford and Jimmy Barnes do Lazy, and there's a YouTube video of it.
I've seen that.
It's pretty badass, because they do mix it up and change it and shit, which you should, I think. It's pretty cool.
I mean, I have mixed feelings on that because, yes, I don't really want to hear anybody, cover those solos note for note, but I also don't really want to hear somebody else solo over it either, so it's weird.
It is. I thought it was just kind of fun, though,
Yeah.
Okay, man, let's sum up. It's a fun album to revisit. It's a fucking classic. Like I said, it's Desert Island for me, for sure.
This album takes so many elements and puts them all together in the most pleasing, perfect way that maybe, to me, is better even than some of the bands that are more lauded, that are more smiled upon by the rock historians. Deep Purple, their catalog is great. They have a lot of great songs throughout, but Machine Head is them at the pinnacle.
I agree, man. They deserve more accolades for sure. Like, they're just amazing. Okay, guys, let us know what you guys think of Machine Head in the comments. And on behalf of Reed and I, thanks for joining us. And until next time, keep rockin' live, kids.